Hello, you guys. Working to surviving with Nana. So let's start here. What does grief look like? What does grief sound like? What does grief feel like? Well, I can tell you what it looks like. It looks like me. It's unaccounted for. It's cruel. It's a hard thing for us as adults to understand. So to say that I understand it and to even be on that topic, I would have to say that I have experienced death for myself firsthand. First of all, I lost my 16-year-old son in 2021. And that became the darkest moment that I have ever faced in my life. And to be honest with you, I thought that I wouldn't survive losing my son. It was something that was not even comprehensive to me. It was something that was unexpected. It was unforeseen. You know, usually we have children that be out in the streets and are into mischief and all type of things like that. But my son was the total opposite. He was a football star. He ran track. He played all type of sports. He had a part-time job. He was a good kid. And for something like that to happen to a kid that wasn't out there doing the type of things that the typical young black male is doing right now in these times, because they're outweighing crime, so to say, because a lot of them have broken homes. A lot of them don't have that mentorship that they need to survive being in places that were built for them not to survive. So, what do we do when something like that happens? To be honest with you, the best thing to do is to have a relationship with God. Let's start there. First, we all need to be having a relationship, some type of relationship with some type of higher power. It does not matter what religion, just believe in something. Whatever that may be is up to you. I did have a relationship with God when I lost my son, but it wasn't the type of relationship that I should have been having. I was raised to believe in God, and I was raised on principles. I had a praying grandmother, but I was mad at God for taking my son. If we really want to be honest about it, I was very, very angry with God because I didn't understand how He would allow something like that to happen to a little boy that wasn't living the type of lives that troubled young men are living today. And so I stayed mad at him for a while because we was a family that prayed every day on the way to school. And for something like that to happen, I just was mad. But what I can tell you, that changed my life. It changed my outlook on life. It changed the way my thinking processed after that. It changed the way that I looked at the world. Because, you know, we talk to our children and they tell us the things that's going on in schools. But somehow, if we're not in that moment with them, it's kind of hard to comprehend. It's kind of hard to comprehend when you are a parent that lived in another generation and things were so very different. And things were different in our generation. Now social media is the biggest downfall for our children right now. It's a competition. Social media has become a disgrace where it's a fairy tale world, so to say. And that was very, 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 very hard for me to comprehend And I'll be honest with you, I've somewhat have, I would say, repaired that relationship that I fell from with the higher power, Yahshua. I would say that I've somewhat repaired that, but I'm still mad. So surviving with Nana, it has to be something that's honest. It's intentional. I survived what was meant to destroy me, because losing a child, I'll be honest with you, it's total torturement, because you're living without someone that you carried for 9 months. You're living without somebody that you gave birth to. And that's a hard pill to swallow. It's a very, very hard pill to swallow. And so with me surviving, I try to encourage other people to know that it's not over. You can regain a meaningful life. Will that pain ever go away? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. My son is the first thing that I think about when I wake up in the morning, and he's the last thing that I think about when I close my eyes, because that's my child. And the manner that he was taken away from me, it was very, very cowardly. He was robbed without even knowing what was going on. And by the time that he did realize what was going on, he was already shot. And it was just devastating. It was devastating for me. It's devastating for any parent in any manner, because losing a child, I think, in my mind, is the most devastating pain that any parent could ever endure. And I say that to say, because you're living a life that you never imagined without your children. We don't imagine life without our children. We expect our children to bury us. And when something like that happens, it's all chaos. It's chaos trying to be a strong person for your other children. And I'll be honest, a lot of the reason why I am sitting here today with my testimony is because I had other children. I had other children that was looking to me for answers that I didn't have. I also had a child that asked me, we pray every day, Mom. You know, we pray every day, but we prayed every day, and look what God let happen to your son. And that question, that statement, it was a statement and a question all in one. That was an answer that I couldn't answer. I had no logical explanation for the God that we were praying to allow my 16-year-old son life to be taken away. And I still don't have an answer for that. I still cannot understand, but what I can tell you is it changed me. It changed the person that I was. I don't think that I thought about death the way that I think about death now. I don't think that I thought that this could happen to any of my children. That's something that never ever crossed my mind. Like, my losing a child, like who could ever think of that? Like, who would want to think of that? And so I share this because how do we go forward to even begin to live a meaningful life after such tragedy? So I began to draw when I lost my son. I began to draw, and most of the things that I was drawing, it was like things with wings in it. It was things like heavenly things, like things that I could imagine and hope that there is another life, and that he would be in that other life on the streets of gold in a heavenly manner. And so I would draw those things at night. And I wanted to do something to keep his name alive. So I started a clothing line. And I got an LLC. And so those drawings I turned into clothing. So for the first year, those things that I draw, I turned into sweatshirts, t-shirts. I found myself trying to stay busy because we all know that it says an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Well, I believe that to be true. I believe that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Why? Because if I didn't find something to do, I would have lost my mind. And so that's what I began to do. I did that for about a year. The next year, I got on with my current employer. And the job was like going into communities and trying to find out problems, find resolutions to help the community. So I felt like that was somewhat what I was supposed to be doing. Later on that year, when I started the job, I started a nonprofit called Mothers Involved Against Gun Violence. With that mindset, when I started that nonprofit, it was to bring families together, particularly mothers that had experienced the pain, the type of pain and trauma that I experienced. And I can admit it was a great idea. Although we're living in a city, I was currently living in a city where a lot of things are made to be competition. So when I started that nonprofit, I didn't know anything about nonprofits. I just knew that I wanted to be able to share with other mothers what I was experiencing losing my child, meaning the preliminary hearings, the trials, the different stages that I had to go through with the coward that had took my son's life. And I wanted them to know that it took 3 years for me to even get to that trial period. I wanted them to know what it felt like looking at the person that took my son's life. I wanted them to know what it felt like to stand in the courtroom. Fast forward. The nonprofit was called Mothers Involved and is called Mothers Involved Against Gun Violence. I dived straight head on into that nonprofit, and everything that I would get, I was trying to help somebody instead of building it. That was my first mistake. I didn't know that to get financially stable with the nonprofit, that I would have to build first. Meaning that when I had events or something, I would just buy stuff to give back to the people, give back to the children. Even when I had youth events, I would give a kid something because in my mind, I was feeling like, okay, well, it's this little boy don't have a pair of headphones. This little boy that may not. I think that my vision was looking at, I want to help any young man survive because in reality, I couldn't help my son. I couldn't get him back. And so I just was trying to help people. Mind you, this is a grieving mind. So a grieving mind, you're not logically thinking. You're thinking, but you're not logically thinking. And that's something that grieving puts you in. It puts you into a a mode where you're just in pain and you just want to do something to fix it. And we all know there is no way possible in this world to fix death. God give it and God take it away. He's the creator. He's the first, the last, the beginning, and the end. And I made those mistakes with the nonprofit. Had I known then what I know now, I would have did things much, much differently. But my problem with that was I was reaching out to people asking for help. Well, how do you get a grant? How do you make it legal? And us as people, we're so afraid that somebody else will be bigger than us that we don't want to help the next person. And I found that out to be a true statement, not something that I'm just saying. And I also found that people like to judge you off of the person that you used to be or you previous was, or judge you off stuff from a kid. Now, I'll be honest. I wasn't a perfect person. And if we gonna be real, you could say that maybe I lived a wild life. But God forgives us for the things that we done in the past. You know who don't? It's people. People hold us hostage for who we used to be years ago. It don't matter how your life has changed. They only see what they want to see. Now, they could have seen and they could probably comprehend that, okay, I don't care who you is. If you lose your child, it has to do something to you. It absolutely has to do something to you. It's no way you can ever be the same. I don't care if you do be the same. Something inside you changes. It changes you forever. And so I went into that line of work. Now, I wasn't just this bad person. But I had fun. I lived my life. I was a teenager. I had my first child at a young age. And so people try to hold you for what you used to be. And I understood that people wasn't listening to the message. They were judging the messenger. And I began to understand that that's the way that it was going to go. That's the way that they seen things. They seen things for the person I used to be, the ones that knew. Now, I'm going to be honest, I had some people behind me that stood right next to me through a lot of things. My family, my sisters, my mom, my brothers, I got my cousins, my children, CJ, like I had people that stood with me, but I also had people that could not let go of me being trouble when I was younger. And so I was crucified, so to say, for that. I was crucified, so to say, for that. And that's okay. Because what I need people to understand, and I just was talking about this the other day, when Jesus selected those people, the disciples, when he chose those people, those were people that all had been through something. And I'm going to tell you something. They had been through something because God was shaping them. He was molding them. He was preparing them for the mission that he had in store. Let me say that again for the people in the back. God was preparing those people for the missions that he had in store for them. for the book that he would be writing them to record. When he sent people, he had sent people that he had built. So when we say, or when we judge, we don't know who God has his hand on. We don't know what God is doing. But one thing that we don't think about is when God says, touch not my anointed. It's no way that God will allow me to go through what I've been through and he not have his hands on me. It's no way that he will allow me to experience the worst pain of my life to not have his hands on me. I know that I have a mission, and I know that it's a season for everything. They say it's a time to laugh. It's a time to cry. It's a time to mourn. It's a time to be happy. It's a time for everything. And when I lost my son, that was my time for crying. That was my mourning season. And when he fixed me and shaped me back up, it was my time to be the messenger. It was my time to show people that no matter where you come from, no matter how you live, no matter where you been, God can take anything and mold it back up to the way that he want it to be. And he gives a message through who he want to get a message through, regardless if they want to receive it or not. Even if my message got to 15 kids during the last 4 years, it was the 15 kids that God chose for that message to be received. So, staying busy is one of the things that I found myself doing. Talking to other kids and sharing my son's story. Letting them know that death doesn't have an age. Death doesn't have a time. And God doesn't have a respect to persons. He do what he please, how he want, when he want. So, I am here to give my testimony. And this is the premiere of Surviving with Nana. I hope that you guys will tune in with me on Saturdays and meet different mothers, hear different situations, and know that I'm here because I survived and you can too. Y'all tune in with me on Saturdays. Thank you all for joining. Long live my son Chavan, forever 16. And I'll see y'all next time.
We just want CT. To the cops up picking us up, but got some CT. Still want out real with that and keep that glizzy. Told him I'm gonna be alright, but he make it back home. Goddamn, my mind gone. Know some real ones that gon' rap, but I got my backbone. I get them bad gone, but you gotta have pass strong. Boy, that ain't look wrong. Yeah, I been shook wrong. Man, I been slept on, but you still gotta move.